The first phase is in Mecca, and the second is Medina. If you look at the ayat that were revealed in Mecca, compared to the ayat that were revealed in Medina, you will find that they are different generally in their themes. The verses that were revealed in Mecca were about the heart, were about how to connect to Allah, were about who is Allah, and how am I supposed to attach myself to Allah. Because once you attach yourself to something, you know this saying that when you love someone, or when someone basically has someone wrapped around their finger, and you just say jump, and they say how high. So you all know that that's what happens when you're attached. That's what happens when you love someone. Is they say jump, you just say how high. You just tell me how high. And so, if a stranger comes and tells you to jump, you say, get away from me. What are you talking about? Why? Why should I? But when that person that you love says jump, you just tell me how high, and I'll do it. And so, the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala introduces who is Allah, what is Tawheed, what is our relationship with Allah, so that we attach ourselves to Allah first, before the rules of inheritance, and even the command of hijab, or the prohibition of alcohol, or the prohibition of zina and riba. That comes later. Is that imagine that you tell a child their entire life that you better watch out, because if you make a mistake, the police is gonna come and throw you in jail. And you start telling a child this from when they're 2 years old. You better watch out for the police. You better watch out for the police. You better watch out for the police, because the moment you make a mistake, that police is gonna get you. And then the police is gonna throw you in a jail. That's forever, by the way. And it has fire. Now I want you to imagine how that child is gonna grow to think about the police. And you guys, are you following? How is that child gonna grow in their relationship to the police? Anyone? Fear, but not the healthy kind. Fear, the avoidant kind. Just let me, if they see the police, they're gonna go the opposite direction. They're not gonna see the police and go up to them and give them a hug. They're not gonna wanna get close to the police. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Now, using this analogy, if we are teaching our children about Allah like the police, you better watch out, because you know the moment you make a mistake, Allah is gonna punish you. Allah is gonna put you in hell. Allah is gonna get you. So you're almost teaching that child that Allah is this scary thing to be avoided. Just run away, just hide. And this is why people, young people, grow up and run away from religion. This is the reason. The reason is that there is this sense that Allah is just waiting to catch you so He can throw you in hell. Can I tell you that that is absolutely wrong? If you read the Quran and you look at the Sunnah and the Hadith, you learn that it's the other way around. Allah is just waiting for us to do one small good deed so He can forgive us. Allah's not waiting to punish us. Allah's hoping to forgive us. And so we have to, and that why I say this is, I truly, truly believe that we have a lot of unlearning to do. See, I can be up here and talk about learning, but I truly believe we need to unlearn a lot. There's a lot of things that we have had passed on from generation to generation that are unhealthy. We have a lot of trauma that's passed on from generation to generation. And we have a lot of cultural practices and beliefs that are not part of Islam that are passed on from generation to generation. And one of them is this emphasis and this teaching of something called shame. Shame. Now I'm going to give you a definition because this is very important. When you make a mistake, how many of you never make mistakes? Raise your hand. Just checking if anyone's delusional. You're all good, you're all in reality. Alhamdulillah, because newsflash, we all make mistakes, all right? When you make a mistake, there is a very important difference between healthy remorse and unhealthy shame. Now, this is going to be very important. Why? Because I think the vast majority of us grew up with shame. With shame. Not with healthy remorse. Not understanding healthy ways to come back when we make a mistake. Instead, we were taught shame. So let me explain to you what shame is and how it differs and why it's so dangerous. But in order to give you that example, I'm going to use an analogy. So now imagine that you're in the car and you put your address into the GPS, and as you're driving, you miss your exit or you make a wrong turn. Now imagine that the GPS goes, "You worthless driver. I've been keeping track, and you actually have no sense of direction, and you've already made 55 wrong turns this week." You know what? Actually, I think you're such a bad driver that you should stop trying to get to your destination and park over there. See what the GPS just did? That's shame. That's shame. What does the GPS do though? The GPS is like a non-judgment zone, you know? You can make 1,000 wrong turns and it will never judge you. It will never call you a bad driver. It will never say, you know what, you have no sense of direction. All it does is recalculating, rerouting, make a legal U-turn. Look at the compassion. Right? How about we be more like the GPS? And I'll give you an example of that. You probably know this story, but I want you to reflect on it deeper. How many of you know the story of the prostitute who gave water to a dog? So, as you know, the title may imply, there was a woman who worked as a prostitute. So obviously, she's not living a moral life or a moral lifestyle. And as she's, you know, on her path, she sees a dog, and the dog is thirsty. So what does she do? She takes off her shoe or something, she goes and she gets water, and she gives water to the dog. And we're told that she is forgiven because of that action. So now I want you to reflect on this story, because many of you might have heard this story, but I have to tell you something so deep about this story. Who sent the thirsty dog? Allah. Do you get it? Allah wanted to forgive her. Allah wanted to forgive her. So He sent an opportunity, something so simple, right? Something we might take for Maybe you helped someone out who was in need. Maybe you had something in your life that might be a nuisance, but it's your thirsty dog. And isn't that profound? Now I want to compare how we speak to sinners and those who make a mistake, and maybe even our children when they make a mistake, compared to how Allah speaks to those who make mistakes. Are you guys ready? I want you to first think about how we speak to people when they make a mistake. Maybe how we speak to ourselves when we make a mistake, which, like I said, is usually the voice we heard growing up. You guys understand? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaking to sinners. قُلْ يَا عِبَادِي الَّذِينَ أَصْرَفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. Look at the contrast. Allah speaking to sinners. Say, "Oh my slave." By the way, there is no more endearing way for a Lord to speak to his creation than "Ya ibadi." You know, if like your mom or dad is like really wanting to be loving, and they would say, you know, like beti, beta, or you know, habibi, habibti, like that type of thing. And Allah is high above any analogy. Allah is literally saying, "My slave." It's like a very endearing way to speak to someone. And who's he talking to? الَّذِينَ أَصْرَفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ. Those who have transgressed against their own selves by sinning. He is literally addressing sinners. How does he speak to sinners? By saying, "Ya ibadi." Kindly. He's speaking to sinners with compassion and kindness. And then what does he say? "La taqnatu min rahmatillah." Never despair of the mercy of Allah. Is that how we talk? Think about it. Is that how we talk when we make a mistake, when someone else makes a mistake, when our kids make a mistake? I want you to reflect on this, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us hope no matter what. Allah wants us never to despair.